2019. They thought things would be different, but a first-round loss.
Never in a million years would I think a Brooklyn Nets team consisting of a healthy Durant and a healthy Kyrie would be swept 4-0 in the first round of the playoffs. I mean, Durant can get a shot off against anybody in the league, and Kyrie can use his handles to get by anybody in the league. Yet, here we are. The Celtics took care of the Nets in 4 games and shocked the world, and that got me thinking, if the Warriors and the Celtics should meet in the finals, should Golden State be worried about the smothering defense of the ones wearing green? First things first, the series between the Nets and the Celtics was the classic example of dominant players versus a dominant team. And in this case, the dominant team dominated the dominant players. I mean, anytime Kyrie and KD caught the ball or tried making their way to the basket, bodies upon bodies would collapse onto them. I mean, look at some of these. Kyrie here is about to use the Claxton screen. Both defenders stick on him, and the weak side help is also in the paint at this point. Kyrie is swarmed by a group of Celtics, and as a result, it's a turnover. Uncle Drew could barely even get off a shot. Next off, here's Durant. He has Tatum on him. KD does a crossover to his left, but as he rises up, there's 2 people contesting the shot.
Here's Durant.
The shot gets blocked, and sheesh, guys, I never thought I'd see KD getting his mid-range blocked like that. Anyway, the Brooklyn Nets have one of the best offenses that money can buy. I mean, their payroll is literally the second most expensive payroll in the league at $171 million, and the Celtics just swept them. So the billion-dollar question today is, should the Warriors be worried about the Celtics if they were to meet in the finals? Well, I took a deep look into the analytics and styles, and you might be surprised by what I found. So the Nets have talent, but when it comes to a system, it's pretty much non-existent. I mean, their system was as follows. 1, give either Kyrie or KD the ball. 2, then get out of their way. 3, rinse and repeat. It works against teams with average levels of defense, but clearly when you face off against elite defensive teams that study and game plan on how to stop you, it doesn't work quite as well. Golden State, on the other hand, just like the Nets, have talent, but at the same time, they have a system. I mean, looking at some NBA advanced statistics during the regular season, the Brooklyn Nets ran the most isolation plays. I mean, every game they ran about 10% of their plays through isolation, whereas the Warriors only ran about 5%. Furthermore, the Warriors led the league in running plays through cuts to the basket, and when it came to running plays through screens, they were head and shoulders above the rest. The Celtics have one of the best defenses I've ever seen, but they're going to find that guarding the Warriors is going to be much more different and much more difficult than guarding the Nets. Here's why. Let me ask you something. At this current moment, which offense would you say is more lethal? The combined duo of KD and Kyrie plus any other Nets player, or the Splash Brother combo of Steph and Clay plus the pool party? What would you say? In my honest opinion, with the way the Warriors run their offense through pick and rolls, off screens, off cuts, I think it's a no-brainer that everyone would agree that the offensive capability coming from the trio of the Warriors is at least a tier or 2 above that of the Nets. Yet at the same time, the Celtics defense barely held up against Brooklyn. I mean, in Game 1, the Celtics won through a buzzer beater. Then in Game 2, with 1:45 left to go in the second quarter, the Nets had a 17-point lead, but then squandered it, and the Celtics ended up winning by 7. Game 3 was a 6-point game, then Game 4 was just a 4-point game, and the Nets probably would have won it if Nick Claxton didn't go 1 for 11 from the free throw line. It's clear that although the Celtics defense was able to tremendously slow down both Kyrie and KD, it wasn't by much. I know. Some of y'all are going to say the Celtics can switch everything and that's going to make things really difficult for the Warriors. And yeah, the Celtics do have the ability to switch a lot, but the Warriors do so much more than that. Here's what I mean. Okay, this is going to be a bit confusing to explain, but try and follow closely. Here's Steph. He's about to set a screen for Clay's defender. Next off, Steph's original defender who was supposed to switch on to Clay is now facing a screen of his own, set by Andrew Wiggins. Then when Dre passes it to Steph, Clay starts setting a screen for Wiggins' original defender. Steph then drives to the rim and draws in the entire Nuggets defense, leaving Clay wide open. And the end result is a splash. Sheesh, guys. And the crazy thing about this whole sequence is, this isn't even a drawn-out play out of a timeout. This is just them understanding X's and O's. The Celtics won't be able to stop this type of offense. The Warriors are going to be getting off whatever type of shots they want, and the only way Boston has a chance is if the Warriors miss the open shots they should be making. Moving on here, the next thing we'd have to ask ourselves is, how would the Celtics handle the defense of the Warriors? According to Hollinger's team statistics during the regular season, he has the Celtics as the second best defensive team in the league with a defensive efficiency of 104.0. But you know which team is at number 1 with 103.9? That's right, the Golden State Warriors. The Brooklyn Nets, on the other hand, were in the middle of the pack at number 15. If an average defensive team like the Nets could keep the Celtics within striking distance, then just how much can an elite defensive team run by a defensive genius in Draymond clamp down on them? So far in the playoffs, the Celtics are leading the league in points in transition, and in addition, one of their bread and butter is attacking the paint then kicking the ball out for spot-up shooters. If the Warriors play hard, run the floor, and limit the number of points in transition, and if they rotate hard out to shooters, they can make it really tough for Boston's offense to get any rhythm going at all. Anyway, I'm going to pivot here for a bit. Did you know that the Celtics' tallest active player is the same height as Kevon Looney? So, for once, Looney won't be outmatched in height. There won't be any 7-footers that can take advantage of height mismatches, which was literally the only weakness of the Warriors all season. This is going to be huge when it comes to what the Warriors will be able to do on both offense and defense. And on another tangent here, some of y'all might be saying that in the last regular season matchup between the two, the Celtics seriously shut down the Warriors, but the truth is, that game has no real indication of how these two teams would match up if they were to meet in the finals. First of all, that was Draymond's second game after coming back from that back injury. In addition, that game was prior to Klay Thompson refinding his former self. And furthermore, Curry got injured in the second quarter of that game. And lastly, at that point in time, the Warriors' big three trio of Steph, Klay, and Draymond haven't played together in 2 years, so their chemistry wasn't quite there yet. So, back to the billion-dollar question. Should the Warriors be worried about the defensive tenacity of the Boston Celtics? The answer is no. They should take it seriously, but they shouldn't be worried at all. I mean, by the time the Warriors reach the finals, they would be battle-tested again. Not only would they have to run through the Nuggets, but they would have to run through the possibility of the Grizzlies and the Suns as well, that is, if these two teams aren't eliminated beforehand. The Warriors have a vastly more sophisticated offense than the Nets, and the Celtics were barely able to hold them off. And then on the opposite side of that coin, the Warriors have a vastly superior defense than the Nets, who were able to hold the Celtics to within striking distance in each game. The Warriors would also have the home court advantage, so the first 2 games would be at Chase Center, and if the series were to go to 7 games, the Warriors would have the upper hand. Playing Boston won't be a pretty series, it'll be a dogfight, but the Warriors should be able to close them out in 6 games. So, this is my analysis and predictions. What are yours? Let me know in the comments down below. And then after that, you're going to want to check out this video right here. Trust me when I say it'll be worth your time, and you'll love it. So click the video, guys, and like always, I'll see you on the other side.